Alright, welcome to my video about open source software. Thank you for choosing mine among the many. My name is Tyler Thornhill. Let's get to it. Alright, open source software. It's simple what it really is. It's practically free to use. Anyone can use software that you can find on the internet or through suppliers in the effort of making a freer and more open software market. In the past, it was thought that these softwares, the people who make free softwares, must be internet-dwelling nerds in their basement. But lately, that's been not the case. It's been larger corporations such as Google and Microsoft that have been taking advantage of this new trend. So you've certainly used an open source software, probably pretty recently. If you're using a Mac, you're using some sort of Linux-based product. If you use Mozilla Firefox instead of Chrome or Internet Explorer, if you're using OpenOffice instead of Word, all of these are open source products that are completely free to use. And then there are some that are more practical for businesses as opposed to consumers, like MySQL. That's a very important language writing software. OpenMoko, they are trying to make an open sourced cell phone. Things such as that. Well, all of these products are software-wise they have to be free for it to be considered open source. But uh, if you're a company using this to make profit, oftentimes it requires some sort of licensing. A lot of the problems and concerns with open source software are the United States copyright law. This copyright law is enacted to keep works of art or any sort of work coming from the mind, making sure that it stays their own. Here's an example of some concerns that come with copyright law. I want to say it's the 60s. This picture on the left was taken, and then later a different artist created this statue of it, and the people on the left sued the artist from the right, and it's obvious that these similarities are so very alike, and they won the case. This licensing applies to the world of technology based on the fact that it applies for codes as well. So the author may make it free, like an open source software, or they may have to give rights to someone trying to use their product, which makes the licensing necessary. Here's an example in modern terms. Disney often makes movies with superheroes, so a company like Marvel, unless Disney were to say buy Marvel, but if they're using a Marvel character, they most likely have to license it from Marvel for their movie to make the movie, unless they want to be subject to copyright laws. One could definitely ask, what's the point of licensing a free product? Well, they're not really licensing it for any sort of monetary gain. One of the goals of open source is to create more open source. So say a company wants to make a profit off of an open source type product, they would have to, instead of just turning around and selling the code they wrote as for a profit, they have to make the code that they used using another open source software, they have to make that available to the public for free, and that's where the licensing comes in to make sure that that actually happens. This is on the idea of a multiplier effect. If one software that's vital to many other softwares makes an open source product that's licensed to them under the assumption that they will make that also open source, it creates an entire infrastructure of products that are free to use, making a freer market in the software industry. It makes it seem very holistic for these companies to make this all free, but it's really not just for the common good. It's a lot of times for business expansion. Like Google will make a product to keep their name fresh, even though they are Google, so they're huge anyway, but they will make an open source product to keep their name in the public light. for market share and brand recognition. The economic effects of this are obvious. They're free, so a company using this is going to save lots of money. Instead of creating their own product or buying a huge amount of product from another company to install on thousands of computers, they'll just use an open source one, making their products cheaper or making their profits bigger. I thought this is an interesting graph. It's labeled "Creating Wealth by Sharing," and it really just kind of emphasizes the idea. This doesn't get rid of wealth by making things free. It just increases the amount of people able to use software like this, making everything cheaper and just generally positively affecting the economy. I read an interesting article about why this is happening now. A lot of it's just because technology is now catching up to make this easily shareable through the internet, but also a lot of it is the open source people are taking advantage of a weak economy. The economy right now is definitely turbulent, and to seize on that opportunity is just smart, and they've done that very well. And to close it out, you can see really that it's really catching on when even tech giant like Microsoft, who is not necessarily known for being lenient on their products being shared, is catching up with their Microsoft Azure, which is their open source product. This this movement is making everything one step closer to a freer world through freer tech. I want to thank you for watching this video as opposed to the others. Thank you very much.